We led the show with the news that the Tush Push was not banned by the amount of membership necessary. That means to get this rule changed, it had to have 3/4 of the league voting for it. They wound up 2 votes shy. 24 needed, 22 said ban it. The 10 teams that voted against the ban: the Eagles, Ravens, Browns, Lions, Jaguars, Dolphins, Patriots, Saints, Jets, Titans. If 2 of them had switched their votes, it would have been out. Instead, it stays in the game. To talk about it is our friend Mark Schlereth, multiple Super Bowl champ from Fox Sports, 3-time champ to be exact, joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, sir? Good to see you, Mark.
It's always good to be with you, Rich. I am doing great. Thank you so much for asking.
All right, so your viewpoint of the news that it came close, but no cigar for those wanted the Tush Push out. It stays in the game. Your thoughts, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Obviously, if you don't have a quarterback that you're comfortable doing that with, if you're Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, if you're one of those quarterbacks that you don't feel like, a Joe Burrow type of guy, and you're one of those teams, you certainly don't want to have to defend it. One, and part of the reason you don't want to have to defend it, obviously, you don't want to run it as an offensive staple of yours. So, interestingly enough, like I have said this many, many times, they banned that pushing a defensive player as actually a special teams rule. So you can't push a defensive player on the special teams unit on
Correct.
PAT field goal and on punt pro. And so my thought process, if it's unsafe there, then isn't it unsafe everywhere? And why do we not have equity in the rule? Like, there is no equity. And people say, well, they're pushing on a quarterback. Are they? Because even in this picture that you're showing right now, you've got a guy behind the tight end, or excuse me, a tight end behind the quarterback. You got another, I think, wide receiver behind the or a running back or whatever it is.
Yep.
So like, you're pushing the butts of offensive linemen as you're creating leverage in this play. And so to me, it's exactly the same as the rule that you made illegal on the special teams side of things, that's okay on the offensive side of things. So the lack of congruent nature in the rule makers, to me, is the biggest issue I have. When I hear people say, well, it's not a football play. Yeah, it is. It's a great football play. Smashmouth, right? It is like control the line of scrimmage. That, to me, is the difference between winning and losing in the National Football League. So I think it's a football play, and I find it entertaining. And I'm always looking at, like, how are they going to stop this? What are they going to do to stop? Like, I look at it as an analyst, so I don't have any issue with it. The only issue I have is with the league. If it's good for the goose, then it should be good for the gander. And the lack of continuity is the only thing that bothers me.
Well, the only thing, another lack of continuity I was, hearing about from those who are listening to the behind-the-scenes chatter of the debate that went down over whether to ban it or not, is the offense gets forward progress, the defense does not. So if you stop them, the pushing can continue, and the pushing, when it continues, 99 out of 100 times benefits the offense as opposed to the defense, and that's an issue. But the player safety aspect of it, what do you think? Is it a more dangerous play for linemen because there is all that pushing going on, Mark, than it would be than a regular sneak play? Is it more dangerous, do you think?
No, I don't think it's any more dangerous, Rich. I really don't. I do think, and this is probably a good thing. A change the league has made over the years from a player safety standpoint is, I can think back to, even my career, and you go back beyond my career. This play would have become inconsequential because Frontier Justice would have taken care of it. Somebody got hurt. So there was a time in the NFL where we'd have just injured somebody and they said, okay, now we move on. So nobody's going to run anymore. So I am glad that the league and the way the players think has changed to a degree. From that standpoint, I don't think it's any more dangerous than any other play. playing football is inherently dangerous, and there's 100% likelihood that if you play this game, you're going to get hurt. Um, it's just really virtually impossible to stop. And the other thing on the defensive side of the ball is if you lined up and pushed mano a mano, like you got behind a defensive lineman and pushed them into the offensive line, into the quarterback, like why don't teams do that? Well, then if we just run a fake, like there's nobody in the back end to stop the passing game. So, it truly is a play which is completely leans into the benefit of the offense and really puts the defense is in an impossible position. And usually, like if that rule was the other way around, if the defense had a unbelievable advantage and put the offense in an impossible position, the rule will be changed because this is a league that predicates itself on creating offense. And so if the shoe were on the other foot, it would have been voted out 100%. So, it's just one of those things that life ain't fair. Get used to it. And we will always err on this in this league on the side of benefiting the offense.
And I'd love to find out from the 10 teams that voted to keep it, voting against this ban, what their reasoning is. Obviously, we know what the Eagles' reasoning would be. You pointed out if you've got the quarterback for it, you'd want to keep this in the playbook. I mean, I'm looking at some other, like the Dolphins. That's not their reasoning. That's for damn sure. Here are the Saints. You would think. Kellen
all the coaches came from Philadelphia
right.
with the Saints.
That said, I don't see Shane Steichen's Colts on here with Anthony Richardson, right? Who would be big enough. You do see Cam Ward's Titans. I don't know. You see maybe the Jets and Lions and Ravens. They're just like teams that are just say screw it. We're not gonna vote to ban something just because it can't be stopped. I'm wondering if that's the general through line here is that they didn't buy the it's not a football play, it's a pace of play issue, it's also something that could be dangerous. They didn't buy it. I don't think that was it.
No. And I tell you the other thing is, like, I think you could look at it and say, well, wait a minute now. Like, we've got a big enough or thick enough offensive line. We got a couple of burly tight ends. We got a running back, or we've got a wide receiver who was a quarterback in college. Let's put him back there and we're built in a similar way to Philadelphia. Let's put our own version in here. And so I think you get some teams that look at it that way, like, wait a minute, man, we can benefit from this as well. Yeah. And I'll tell you the other thing. If you're physically built that way, like if you are a smash mouth, let's control line of scrimmage, like a Baltimore Ravens football team.
Lions.
Why would you like the Lions? Like and as many trick plays as Dan Campbell and the Lions run. Like, of course you're looking at that like, man, it's innovative. I love it. Let's do it. And let's create, like, we'll take Jared Goff off and we'll have Amon-Ra St. Brown run it, right? That dude's a freak show, or one of our running backs run it.
Laporta, Laporta.
I look at all that stuff and think that the teams that love that kind of smash mouth, let's control line of scrimmage, let's run the football, let's do these things. All those teams look at that and go, hey, man, I want to play where I know on 3rd down and 1, we're doing something. And to me, there's a toughness. I always talk about running the football, Rich, in this league. Mm-hmm. And running the football, to me, is not so much about what you average per carry or how many yards you have at the end of the day. It is in critical crunch time situations when the defense knows you're going to run it, when you know you're going to run it. Can you get 2 or 3 yards in those situations? Can you convert a 3rd down and 2? Can you convert a 3rd down and 1? Can you run the ball in the red zone? And I'm always fascinated by coordinators who say, well, listen, they're playing us in an 8-man front. You've heard this a million times before. Playing us in an 8-man front, we were going to bang our heads against the wall. We've got one-on-one access to the outside. Mm-hmm. Well, where you never have one-on-one access to the outside is in the red zone, because everything, or you always have access, but in the red zone, everything's an 8 or 9-man front. You know what I'm saying? Because the safeties are now playing with their heels at 8 yards. So everything's an 8-man front. So teams wonder why they struggle in the red zone. Well, they struggle in the red zone because they don't know the first thing about actually running the football. and they're not truly committed to it. So it's your ability to basically dictate terms in critical moments, second down and 4-, third down and 4-. Can we still convert first downs in the running game? And that to me is really the truth about running the football. And teams that fancy themselves tough, fancy themselves built that way, they're going to vote for keeping this play in.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.